I sat in Grace Community Chapel holding Sarah's veil across my lap, when Tyler's voice note shattered everything we'd built over 3 years. His words were cold, logical, final, delivered in 30 seconds while I was surrounded by white lilies and rehearsal laughter. My chest felt hollow. The choir's joyful songs suddenly burned my ears. I forced myself to smile for the photographer and handed Tyler the boutonniere he wouldn't meet my eyes to accept. Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number. A screenshot of messages I never sent. Messages that made me look like a cheater. My hands went numb. Tyler had already seen it. That's why his voice had sounded so distant, so sure. That's why he ended us without even asking if it was real. I stared at the image, at words I'd never typed, at a conversation that never happened. But it looked so real. Too real. Someone had wanted this. Someone had planned my destruction carefully. I locked myself in the church bathroom and collapsed on the cold tile floor. My body shook so hard I thought I might break apart completely. I couldn't breathe right. Couldn't think straight. Couldn't understand how my life had fallen apart so fast. Then Sarah was there, kneeling beside me in her rehearsal dress, pressing paper towels to my wet face like we were sisters. She studied the screenshot on my phone, zooming in, squinting hard. "This looks edited," she said firmly. "The font's slightly off. The timestamps don't match." I wanted to believe her desperately. I blocked the unknown number with trembling fingers and deleted Tyler's contact before I could text him something I'd regret. I drafted a message anyway, explaining, defending, begging, but never sent it. Sarah helped me stand and fixed my makeup with steady hands. Then Pastor Ben knocked softly and asked if I could still help coordinate the wedding vows on Sarah's big day. I said yes because I had nowhere else to hide. Sunday service felt like torture. I hid in the back row, hoping to be invisible, praying no one would ask why Tyler wasn't beside me anymore. But churches are small worlds where everyone notices everything. Tyler passed the offering basket down my row without looking at me. His fingers never touched mine. I took it with steady hands and passed it along, refusing to let anyone see me break twice. I sang the hymns quietly. I bowed my head during prayers. I promised myself I'd be silent today and somehow find strength tomorrow. After service, I checked my phone out of habit. A direct message from someone I didn't know. "Meet me in the parking lot. I know who framed you." My heart hammered against my ribs. It could be another trap. Could be someone trying to hurt me more. But I was already destroyed. What was left to lose? I walked outside into the bright Georgia sun. The parking lot was nearly empty. Just a few cars baking under the afternoon heat. Then Michelle from the choir appeared, nervously glancing around like she was being watched. She'd always been quiet, always kind in a shy way. "I saw something," she said quickly, urgently. "Last week. I was in the media room editing the Sunday worship video. Someone else was there working on a laptop. I didn't think much of it until I saw them editing screenshots. Messages that looked like yours." My blood ran cold. "Who?" Michelle hesitated, biting her lip hard. Then she whispered the name like a confession. "Jessica. From your office." The name hit me like a physical blow. Jessica. My workplace rival. The woman who'd competed with me for every promotion, every client, every scrap of recognition. The woman who smiled at me during meetings while undermining me behind closed doors. Rage flooded through me, hot and sharp. But I forced dignity to win over anger. I thanked Michelle quietly. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Jessica herself. "Coffee tomorrow? Let's catch up." The cafe smelled like vanilla and fresh pastries. Jessica was already seated when I arrived, smiling too wide, her laugh too bright and fake. She ordered an expensive latte and talked about work projects like we were friends. Every word dripped with false sweetness. Every sentence hid poison underneath. Then she leaned forward, eyes glittering. "I heard about you and Tyler," she said softly, almost sympathetically. "He was always so trusting. So easy to convince of things." The implication hung heavy between us. She wasn't even hiding it anymore. She wanted me to know what she'd done. Wanted me to feel powerless. I finished my coffee slowly, deliberately. Paid for both of ours. Refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me angry or broken. "Thanks for the chat," I said evenly, gathering my bag. She looked disappointed that I hadn't exploded. I walked out into the cool evening air and let myself shake only when I was alone in my car. Then Grandma Rose called. "Come home, baby. Bring your tears. Grandma Rose's house smelled like home. Lavender, old books, and something baking in the oven. She sat me down in her garden courtyard where honeysuckle climbed the wooden fence. She made hibiscus tea with honey and lemon the way she always did when I was hurting. Then she told me a story about her own youth, about a man who'd believed lies about her during the war. About how fear makes cowards of good people. About how the brave ones fight to repair truth instead of running from it. Someone who loves you fights for you, she said, touching my wet cheek. Someone who doesn't was looking for an excuse to leave anyway. I cried into her lap like I was 7 years old again. Then I laughed through tears when she quoted an old proverb about stubborn goats and wisdom. Before I left, my phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. Can we meet at Riverside Park tomorrow? I owe you the truth. The park was quiet except for the sound of the river moving past. I arrived early, sat on our old bench and watched the water. Tyler appeared 10 minutes later, his eyes red and tired. He looked smaller somehow. Less certain. He sat down but didn't touch me. I messed up, he started quietly. I saw that screenshot and I panicked. Jessica told me she'd seen you with someone. She made it sound so real. And I believed her instead of believing you. The words hung between us like smoke. I didn't rescue him from the silence. Didn't make it easier. Just waited. I should have asked you first, he continued, voice cracking. I should have trusted what we built. But I was scared. Scared you'd outgrown me. Scared I wasn't enough. I looked at him directly, my voice steady and cold. If you ever really loved me, you'll investigate what happened. You'll find the real truth. Then you come back to me clean. Not before. I stood up and walked away without looking back. I started running before sunrise. The Chattahoochee River Trail became my therapy, my church, my fighting ground. Every step was a prayer stitched into pavement. Every breath was a choice to keep living forward. I signed up for actual therapy too. Dr. Martinez, who didn't let me hide behind polite answers. She asked hard questions about boundaries and self-worth. At work, I said yes to a challenging design project I'd normally avoid. I stayed late perfecting presentations. I stopped checking Tyler's social media every 5 minutes. A small, new life started growing around the broken place inside me. I felt stronger. Clearer. Less desperate for someone else to complete me. Then Sarah called, excited and nervous. I need you to pick the wedding hymn, she said. You have the best taste. Please. I opened the hymnal that night and ran my fingers down the page. Then I found it. The one that felt true. I picked Great is Thy Faithfulness, and surprised myself by actually meaning every word. The lyrics about morning mercies and unchanging love felt like medicine I didn't know I needed. Pastor Ben called me after I sent my choice. That's beautiful, Emma, he said warmly. Then he paused. I've noticed your quiet strength lately. Would you share a short reflection at the wedding? Just a minute or two. About keeping love honest. I hesitated, fear rising in my throat. But something braver said yes. Maybe, I told him. Let me think about it. That night, Tyler sent me a video file. No message. Just the attachment. My hands shook as I pressed play. It was a screen recording, cursor movements, editing software, timestamp logs. Someone had meticulously traced every change made to that fake screenshot. The evidence was clear, undeniable, damning. Jessica's digital fingerprints were everywhere. Tyler's message came 30 seconds later. I'm sorry. No excuses. Just truth. The video showed everything. How Jessica had used Photoshop to create fake messages. How she'd matched fonts and colors perfectly. How she'd sent it from a burner number. How she'd whispered poison to Tyler at exactly the right moment. Tyler's apology came without defenses, without blaming anyone else. He looked different on the video call we had later. Smaller but somehow more real. More honest. This is a start, I told him carefully. Not a finish. Not a reconciliation. Just a start. He nodded, accepting the boundary I'd drawn. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes. 2 days later, a message appeared from Human Resources at work. Jessica Martinez is under investigation for workplace harassment and digital misconduct. Your statement has been requested. My hands trembled as I read it. Justice was coming. Slowly. Painfully. But coming. Jessica exploded in the middle of the open office floor. Her voice carried across cubicles and conference rooms as she called me saint, and manipulator, and worse things I won't repeat. Mr. Peterson, our department head, stepped between us immediately. Other colleagues, people I'd worked with quietly for years, spoke up. They'd seen her behavior. They'd witnessed her cruelty. The floor tilted back toward fairness. I kept my voice even and calm as I filed my official report. Then I returned to my desk and continued working on my design. I refused to let her chaos become my chaos. Later that afternoon, a client representative named Daniel stopped by my desk. He'd noticed my calm during the storm. "Coffee sometime?" he asked gently. "Just a talk. You seem like someone who'd have interesting thoughts about resilience." I smiled, surprised. "Maybe," I said. Then Tyler texted, "Can we talk tonight?" I looked at Daniel's kind eyes, at Tyler's message, at the life I was building. Healing wasn't simple. Neither was choice. Daniel and I met at a bookstore cafe that smelled like old paper and possibility. He was easy to talk to, funny without trying too hard, thoughtful in his questions, completely without pressure or expectation. He told me about a project where he'd redesigned something broken to make it stronger than before. "Sometimes breaking is the beginning," he said, stirring his coffee. "Not the end." I felt seen in a way that didn't ask for anything back. But I also felt loyal to my healing path. To the work I was doing in therapy. To the possibility that Tyler and I might find our way back if we did it right this time. When we left the cafe, Tyler was across the street. Our eyes met through the crowd. His face showed fear. Not jealousy. Not anger. Just fear of losing something he'd already thrown away himself. Daniel noticed my distraction. "Friend or complicated?" he asked gently. "Complicated," I admitted. He smiled kindly. "Then I'll be the friend who reminds you that you deserve simple someday." Tyler called that night. We met on a quiet street corner where the streetlights made everything look softer than it was. "I'm not afraid of losing you," he said slowly, choosing words carefully. "I'm afraid I never deserved you. Not then. Not now. Maybe not ever." I looked at him, really looked. Saw the therapy work in his eyes. Saw the humility that hadn't been there before. "Healing isn't a race," I told him gently. "And I won't be your finish line. But if you want to walk beside me while we both heal, I need you in counseling. Real counseling. Together." He agreed without hesitation. "Whatever you need." Meanwhile, Sarah and her fiancé Kevin were planning something. I caught them whispering with Pastor Ben in the church hallway, their voices dropping when I approached. Sarah laughed too quickly, changed the subject too smoothly. I sensed a kindness I wasn't ready to name yet. Something warm and hopeful that scared me. Sarah's bridal shower was full of laughter and terrible party games. But I kept catching whispers that stopped when I walked past. Sarah's mom squeezed my hand with tears in her eyes. Kevin's sister hugged me longer than normal. Pastor Ben winked at me across the room. Something was happening. Something they'd planned together. I felt it in the air like electricity before a storm. When I was leaving, Grandma Rose pressed a sealed envelope into my palm. Her eyes were bright with secrets and love. "Open this on Sarah's wedding morning," she said firmly. "Not before. Promise me." I promised, confused and curious. That night, Tyler sent one last message before the wedding. "No speeches tomorrow. Just actions. Watch what I do, not what I say." I stared at the text for a long time. Then I put my phone away and tried to sleep. Tomorrow would bring whatever it brought. I was ready. Or at least I was trying to be ready. The joint therapy sessions with Tyler were plain and hard and not romantic at all. Dr. Martinez didn't let either of us hide behind pretty words or easy forgiveness. Tyler had to own his insecurity, his need for certainty at any cost, his willingness to believe lies instead of fighting for truth. I had to name my new boundaries clearly, watch him respect them, learn to trust again slowly. It was uncomfortable. Messy. But something was shifting between us. Something honest was growing in the space where our old relationship had burned down. Then Jessica sent one last threat from a new number. "If I go down for this, I'm taking you with me. I know things about you." I showed the message to HR and to my lawyer. They assured me she had nothing. Just desperate, empty threats. Still, fear whispered in my chest. What if she found a way? What if she hurt me again? Dr. Martinez reminded me in our next session that I couldn't control other people. Only my own responses. Only my own healing. HR closed the investigation officially. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Jessica was terminated, facing possible legal consequences. I returned to work without triumph or celebration. I just wanted peace. Wanted to rebuild my reputation quietly and move forward. Tyler started showing up in small, actionable ways. He brought lunch for my entire team, not just me, and left before I got back from a meeting. No credit requested. No grand gestures. Just consistent, quiet support. Daniel texted me that same week. Friends are rare gifts. Even temporary ones. Thanks for the conversation. I understood what he was saying. He was stepping back gracefully, giving me space to finish the story I'd started with Tyler. I texted back gratitude. Then Sarah called, panicked. The final dress fitting is a disaster. I need your hands. You're calm. Please come now. I grabbed my keys and drove to the bridal boutique, not knowing I was walking toward something bigger than a zipper crisis. I walked across the bridge at sunset, watching the river reflect orange and gold. The city hummed below me. I thought about choices and timing and the difference between kindness and love. Daniel had been kind. But Tyler was the story I'd started. The person I'd chosen first. The relationship I wanted to fight for if it could be rebuilt on truth this time. I texted Daniel simply. Thank you for your kindness. I'm finishing a story I started. He responded immediately with a thumbs up and a book recommendation. A novel about second chances and brave choices. I smiled. Then I texted Tyler. I'm ready to try. Fully. Carefully. With boundaries and honesty. His response came fast. I'll spend every day earning this. Sarah's final fitting was the next morning. I arrived to chaos. The seamstress crying, Sarah hyperventilating, the dress too tight in all the wrong places. I improvised with safety pins and breathing techniques. Fixed what I could. Calmed who I could. You're my anchor, Sarah whispered, squeezing my hand. I was just glad I could be steady for someone else. Pastor Ben found me after the fitting, looking nervous and excited. Would you read a line during the ceremony? He asked. Just one sentence. At a very specific moment. I'll tell you when. I agreed, confused but trusting. The wedding morning arrived bright and clear. I woke early and remembered Grandma Rose's envelope. My hands shook as I opened it carefully. Inside was a letter in her elegant handwriting. Love is brave, truth daily. Not once. Not when it's easy. Every single day. Below that was something else. Copies of the marriage license template. And a blank line where a bride's name could go. But it wasn't blank anymore. My name was there. Emma Rose Parker. Written in Sarah's handwriting. I stared at it, my mind spinning in confused circles. What did this mean? Was this a joke? A mistake? Before I could call anyone, Tyler texted. No speeches today. Actions. Trust me. I got dressed in my bridesmaid dress with trembling hands, still holding Grandma's letter like a talisman. The church glowed with candlelight and flowers. White roses everywhere. The choir warming up with harmonies that made my chest ache. I helped Sarah into her dress, arranged her veil, told her she looked like an angel. She hugged me tightly, tears already forming. Thank you for everything, she whispered. For being my sister when I needed one most. The music began. I walked down the aisle carefully, holding Sarah's long train. Tyler stood with the groomsmen, looking sharp in his suit. Our eyes met across the altar. He looked different. Steady. Sure. Completely present in a way I'd never seen before. I felt safe and unsettled all at once. The ceremony was beautiful. Kevin's vows made everyone cry. Sarah's response was poetry. Then Pastor Ben paused before the final pronouncement. Before we seal this covenant, he said slowly, looking out at the congregation, are there any final words that need to be spoken? The church held its breath. Then Tyler stepped forward and took the microphone. Tyler's hands shook, but his voice was clear and strong. I need to say something, he began. The church went completely silent. 3 months ago, I broke the heart of the woman I love because I believed a lie instead of believing her. I chose fear over faith. Convenience over truth. People shifted in their seats uncomfortably. I stood frozen, unable to breathe. I want to publicly confess my failure. I want to name the harm I caused. I want to thank Michelle for speaking truth and Sarah and Kevin for believing in redemption, and Pastor Ben for teaching me that love without action is just pretty words. His eyes found mine across the altar. Emma Rose Parker, I am asking your forgiveness. Not demanding your love. Not assuming I deserve another chance. Just asking. He knelt, but not to propose. He knelt in humility, in repentance, in surrender. The silence was deafening. Then Pastor Ben spoke again. Emma, would you come forward, please? I walked to the front on legs that barely held me. My heart hammered so loud I thought everyone could hear it. Pastor Ben smiled gently and handed Tyler a folded piece of paper. Tyler read from it, his voice shaking now. If the bride consents, this celebration will become her wedding today. The church gasped collectively. The ushers opened the side doors and a team wheeled in different flowers. My favorite peonies in soft pink. The choir shifted their music to a different key. Sarah and Kevin were crying and grinning at the same time. Pastor Ben looked at me with kind, patient eyes. Sarah and Kevin have offered their day to you. Your grandmother and half this church have been planning in secret for 2 weeks. The license has your name, Emma. The rings are ready. The witnesses are here. My mind couldn't process it. Couldn't catch up to reality. But only if you consent, Pastor Ben said firmly. Only if this is what you truly want. If not, we celebrate Sarah and Kevin as planned. No pressure. No judgment. Every eye in the church was on me. Waiting. Hoping. Giving me space to choose. I looked at Tyler, still kneeling, tears streaming down his face. I looked at Sarah, who was supposed to be the bride but was offering me her day like the most precious gift. I looked at Grandma Rose in the second row, her face full of love and wisdom. Then I looked at myself, at the woman I'd become through breaking and healing. At the boundaries I'd learned to set. At the truth I'd learned to speak. I have terms, I said, my voice steady and clear. The church leaned forward. Premarital counseling. Every week for 6 months minimum. Continued therapy separate and together. Complete financial transparency. And a vow, a real vow, to tell the truth when it's hardest. Even when it hurts. Especially then. Tyler nodded immediately. Yes. All of it. Whatever you need. I turned to Sarah. Are you absolutely sure about this? She laughed through tears. We planned it for you, Emma. We want this. Grandma Rose's voice carried from the second row. Read the letter again, child. The last line. I pulled the letter from where I'd tucked it in my dress. Read the last line I'd missed before. When love repairs itself, celebrate loudly. Let the whole church say yes. My hands shook. My vision blurred with tears. I looked at Tyler one more time. Saw the therapy work. Saw the humility. Saw the man who'd fought his way back to truth instead of running from it. Okay, I whispered. Then louder. Yes. Okay. The church erupted. The choir started singing. Sarah pulled me into a tight hug and then started helping me adjust her veil to fit my hair. Kevin shook Tyler's hand and clapped him on the shoulder. The registrar appeared with the official marriage book and placed it on the altar table. My name was already there in careful handwriting. Sarah pressed a delicate bracelet into my palm, something borrowed. Her mother came forward with a ring that had been her grandmother's, something old. Pastor Ben arranged everything with calm efficiency, giving me time to breathe, to process, to be absolutely certain. You can still say no, he reminded me gently. Right up until the end. But I didn't want to say no. Not anymore. Not to this man who'd done the hard work of becoming someone worthy of trust again. Not to this community that had held me through breaking and healing. Not to this love that had survived lies and pain and doubt. The ceremony was simple and profound. We stood facing each other, holding hands, speaking vows we'd practiced in therapy but that felt completely new in this moment. Tyler promised brave truth, daily patience, and love that fights instead of runs. I promised clear boundaries, honest words, and a heart willing to trust again carefully. Pastor Ben spoke about repentance and redemption, about love that doesn't give up even when it falls down. What God has joined in brave truth, let no one separate with cowardly lies, he said. Then he smiled. Tyler, you may kiss your bride. The church held its breath one last time. Tyler cupped my face gently the way he used to when we first dated. And then he kissed me, soft, reverent, full of promise and possibility. The church exploded with joy. The choir sang so loudly the walls seemed to shake. Sarah arranged her veil on my hair with gentle hands, crying and laughing at the same time. Kevin hugged Tyler and whispered something that made them both emotional. Grandma Rose made her way to the front and held my face in her soft hands. Brave girl, she said simply. My brave, wise girl. We signed the marriage license right there at the altar. Tyler's hands steady, mine shaking slightly, witnesses crowding around with tear-stained faces. It was real. Visual. Terrifying and beautiful all at once. The reception became a double celebration. Sarah and Kevin's engagement party and our wedding reception combined. We danced until our feet hurt. We ate cake that someone had miraculously redesigned with both our names. We laughed until we couldn't breathe. Late in the evening, Tyler and I stepped outside for air. The Georgia night was warm and full of stars. I can't believe we just got married, I said, still processing. He pulled me close. I can't believe you said yes. I looked up at him, my husband now, somehow. No more running, I said. From either of us. No more running, he promised. And standing there under the stars holding each other in brave truth, we meant it completely.